I didn't mean to fall asleep in his arms, but I did. And when I woke up, everything inside me had changed, my pain, my past, even my body remembered something it shouldn't. The rain outside was soft, but inside my chest, a storm was raging. My heart had been broken, crushed, shattered by the man who promised forever. I thought healing meant silence, until I met the one man whose voice could slip into my sleep and touch me deeper than anyone ever had, even without laying a finger on me. His name was Dr. Nathan Scott. And the night he put me under, something inside me awakened. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment. Rain whispered against the windows as Rachel Monroe sat curled up on the edge of her bed. Her apartment in downtown Portland felt colder than usual. Her heart, heavy from months of silent struggle, ached beneath her silk robe. The divorce papers had been signed 6 weeks ago, but the weight of betrayal still pressed against her chest every time she closed her eyes. Ethan Reynolds had left without a word, just a note on the kitchen counter and a void in her life that no candle, no bath, no wine could ever fill. Her therapist had suggested hypnotherapy. Sleep therapy, she'd said, deep sleep sessions designed to unlock trauma and help the mind heal. It sounded like science fiction. But Rachel was desperate to feel something other than this aching numbness. That's when she met Dr. Nathan Scott. She'd expected someone clinical, maybe older, distant. But Nathan was anything but. His voice alone was like velvet over ice, smooth, cool, with just enough warmth to draw her in. He looked like he belonged in a movie, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline sculpted by silence and sorrow. And those eyes, dark, thoughtful, like he carried stories he never told. The first session had been simple. Soft lights. Calming tones. Nathan guiding her voice by voice into a place she hadn't visited in years, her own forgotten peace. She'd fallen asleep under his guidance and woken up an hour later with tears rolling down her cheeks. He hadn't said anything. Just handed her a tissue, held her hand gently, and stayed with her until the storm inside her had calmed. It was the third session when things shifted. That night, Rachel arrived at the studio drenched from the rain. Her white blouse clung to her curves, and her cheeks were flushed from the cold. Nathan opened the door himself, his eyes flicking briefly over her before meeting hers with that same quiet depth. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice lower than usual. "You could say that," she said, stepping inside. She didn't tell him the nightmares were getting worse. She didn't tell him about the dreams, of being touched by hands that weren't Ethan's, of longing she hadn't felt in years. Instead, she let him lead her to the recliner, dim the lights, and start the session. But something was different this time. His voice, always so composed, held a gentle edge, almost like desire hidden behind professionalism. As Rachel drifted into the layers of her subconscious, she felt his presence closer than before, emotionally, energetically. Her breaths deepened. Her body softened. But instead of just letting go, something awakened in her. In the dream state, her mind painted a different room, his room. Candles flickered. The rain outside became a symphony. And Nathan was no longer the doctor but the man standing behind her, slowly brushing her hair away from her neck. She felt the warmth of his breath, the slide of his fingers as they traced her collarbone. She didn't push away. She leaned in. In the real world, her body shifted in the recliner, her legs uncrossing, her lips parting. Nathan noticed. He watched as emotion and suppressed desire fought within her. When she woke, her eyes locked onto his, vulnerable, full of something unsaid. "Did something happen during the session?" she whispered. "Why do you ask?" he replied, stepping back, suddenly professional again. "I felt you," she said, her voice trembling. "Not just in my head. You were there. Holding me." He didn't answer. Instead, he turned away, busying himself with notes, though his hand trembled slightly. "I'm sorry if I made it weird," she continued. "You didn't," he said softly. "Rachel, healing is layered. Sometimes, feelings emerge that aren't easy to explain. She rose slowly, walking toward him. The air was thick with tension, emotions clawing to the surface. "Have you ever had a client make you feel something real?" she asked. Nathan looked at her, silent. The answer was in his eyes. Later that week, she was back. Not for a session. Just to talk. She told him about Ethan. About the way she'd lost herself in a loveless marriage. About how it wasn't the betrayal that broke her, but the emptiness that followed. Nathan listened, but something had changed in the way he looked at her now. He no longer tried to pretend he didn't notice the way her voice dipped when she said his name, or how her eyes lingered a moment longer than necessary. One night, after a particularly raw conversation, he touched her hand. Just briefly. But it was enough to spark a fire that neither of them could extinguish. They kissed. Slowly. As though it was forbidden. As though the world would stop if they gave in too fast. And then, they didn't stop. The couch became their sanctuary. His mouth traced her jaw, down her neck. Rachel moaned, soft and broken, like someone who'd forgotten what it felt like to be wanted. His hands undid her blouse with care, reverence, not rushing, just savoring the sight of her curves as if she were the only thing keeping him grounded. She explored him, too, sliding her fingers over the ridges of his chest, memorizing every inch. He made her feel safe. Desired. Real. They moved together slowly, their bodies finding rhythm in the quiet shadows of his office. There was no urgency, just healing wrapped in heat. Each sigh, each gasp, was a confession of something deeper, the pain they'd both carried, the connection they couldn't explain. Afterward, she lay in his arms, her head on his chest, her breath finally even. "You feel like home," she whispered. He kissed the top of her head. "So do you." But the next day, Nathan was gone. No texts. No explanation. Just a voicemail at the clinic saying he'd taken an indefinite leave. Rachel's heart fractured all over again. Weeks passed. She tried calling. Nothing. She went to his building. The office was locked, the windows dark. No sign of him. Had it all been in her head? One night, exhausted and heartbroken, she opened her journal. The one she hadn't touched since her therapy began. She flipped to the first page and gasped. There was a note. One she didn't remember writing. In his handwriting. Sometimes healing means letting go of what you think you need, to find what you truly deserve. I'll come back when I'm sure I'm not hurting you by loving you. Rachel closed her eyes and clutched the book to her chest. 2 months later, a knock echoed through her apartment door. She opened it to find Nathan standing there, thinner, more tired, but with eyes full of something undeniable. "I had to deal with my own demons," he said quietly. "I couldn't help you heal when I hadn't finished healing myself." Rachel didn't speak. She just stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. This wasn't about passion anymore. This was about truth. Trust. Transformation. That night, they didn't rush. They kissed slowly, like two people discovering each other for the first time. Their bodies spoke what their mouths couldn't: gratitude, longing, hope. In each other's arms, they found not just love, but peace. And for the first time in years, Rachel slept through the night. No nightmares. Just warmth. Just healing. Just him.